the rumour, word on the F1 mill, per Ted Kravitz, is that there was a heated meeting. Raymond Vermeulen, manager of Max Verstappen, went at Helmut Marko post-race and had some very choice words to say. So too, the Dutch media and press, courtesy of the Telegraph, are saying that there was an emergency meeting after the Grand Prix with Max, Christian, Helmut, Pierre Vacher, all related parties, discussing what they're going to do with the summer break looming large and the potential for Maximilian Verstappen pushing the button on a performance clause that would allow him in real time to null and void his contract. What do you make about that rumour, Peter? And do you think Max Verstappen, do you think the possibility that Max leaves for an Aston Martin or Mercedes is increasing, as I do, by not by the second, but by the millisecond now?
Red Bull's F1 empire might be collapsing from the inside. Verstappen's next move could change the entire grid. If you care about where F1 is heading, you need to check this video out.
Well, the fact that they had a meeting after the race, no surprise whatsoever. They all have meetings after every race. And I can't imagine the meeting was a happy one because it was a terrible race and Max would have felt he gave it 100% and the car was rubbish. So how could it have been a good meeting? But that's motor racing, happens all the time. Last weekend, they won the Japanese Grand Prix. So let's not get too carried away by it all. As I've said all along, from Max's point of view, it is not logic. It's illogical to even think about switching teams until he knows how the 26 Red Bull Ford is going to go. And that means racing for them in 26. And if that car is not quick, and if there's another car out there that's a lot quicker, be it Mercedes, Ferrari, whatever, Aston Martin, then yeah, I'm sure he'll go to one of those teams. But I can't imagine why he would want to think that the 26 Red Bull Ford is going to be a bad car before he's even seen it. And he's never seen any of the other cars either. And it's a completely new regulation. So why would he leave? It doesn't make any sense to me at all. So I don't think anything's changed other than that they had a terrible race. And I think you've got to draw, there are a couple of things about that race rather than just sort of generically doing a sort of Daily Telegraph 30,000-foot view of, oh, he might leave.
How often does a four-time world champion have to drag a struggling car just to stay competitive? Are we really surprised he's frustrated? Max doesn't walk into rumors. He drives results. A bad Bahrain doesn't rewrite the Red Bull legacy, but if the trend continues, especially post-Adrian Newey, then yes, big conversations are coming.
I mean, the reality is 1, 2 fouled up pit stops. Would they have happened if Jonathan Wheatley was still there? That's a big question. And I think that question, for sure, Red Bull would have to say no. But maybe, that's unfair to what actually happened. But it looks to me like things have gone downhill since Jonathan left. A, and B, the absence of Adrian Newey now, is it starting to have an effect? Is there something that Adrian would have done on that car Friday night that would have given Max a half reasonable race car by Sunday that didn't happen on this occasion? It's the first time really since Adrian left that Red Bull have had a weekend where the car didn't get any better from Friday through to Sunday night. And I'd say that's a big worry. And obviously they don't understand what this issue is. And when Max talks, I mean, it's interesting, isn't it? Because he talks a lot on the radio about the brakes. I can't stop the car, I've got no brakes. And yet he often talks about how he's got no front end, it doesn't turn in, and he's got no grip, and very difficult to manage the tires. It's all part and parcel of the same thing. Of course, what we should remember is that Max uses the brakes very differently from virtually every driver on the grid. He's using the brakes into the corner in a way that Lando Norris never uses the brakes, for example, or Oscar Piastri now into a corner. And so the brakes are part of the way Max gets into corners. It's how he uses the front of the car. And if he doesn't have the feel in the brake pedal pressure that he needs in order to do that lovely balancing act that he has when he's gone in early to a corner and he's just going down to what he knows is the right rotation point, then he's completely lost. He's just a normal racing driver then. He's a Yuki Tsunoda almost. And he's got nothing else he can impart. And that must be a horrendous feeling for Max when that happens. And that's how he had basically drove Bahrain.
Can you imagine being Max Verstappen, 4 titles deep, and feeling like just another guy on the grid? What we're seeing here isn't just a bad car. It's a breakdown in the ecosystem Max thrives in. Wheatley gone, Newey sidelined, and now a car that resists every technique Verstappen relies on. It's no surprise he sounded defeated. The foundation is starting to crack. Bahrain didn't just expose a car problem. It exposed a vulnerability Red Bull hasn't shown in years.
And so the big question is, why is that happening? Is it a tire thing? Is it a tire warming thing? Is it a roll center front suspension thing? Is it part of the brake system somehow? I mean, obviously they changed a lot of things on the brakes, didn't they, on Saturday night? No difference whatsoever. And onto the grid, he said, the car's really, really pointy. And he didn't have much grip at the front anyway. So that was that. And so we'll see. Reading the stuff after the race, they're saying, there'll be an upgrade, I think, for this next race. Is that
Imola.
right? It's difficult. Oh, Imola, is it? Okay. So, yeah, it'll be more of the same in Saudi. Probably less so because Saudi Arabia is more about, those fast S's. He should be half reasonable through there. And yeah, high-speed braking. It's not quite the same as braking into a corner like, say, turn 4 or turn 10 in Bahrain, or even turn 11, 12, 13, 14, but 14 or 15. But don't have those corners in Saudi Arabia, so probably be slightly better off there. Top speed's not too bad, I think. But it's a worry. It's a big worry. They decided not to replace Adrian with a star replacement engineer, and they're doing it all in-house. And those guys must be under a massive amount of pressure now to work out what's going on. I mean, for Max's manager to get involved, I don't know, what's that all about? Why Max is quite capable of saying to them, the car's rubbish, get it sorted. Why does he need the manager to say anything, or manager to Helmut Marko? How's that going to improve anything? I don't get that at all. Raymond's a great guy, but that doesn't make sense to me. I'm sure that happened, but that's been reported out of context, I would suggest.
Yeah.
I can't imagine Raymond would have done that.
Yeah, fair. I mean, I suppose to your question, Peter, they've got to kind of go to bat for their guy, Max. Again,
but you don't need a manager to do that. I mean, Max doesn't need someone to bat for him when he's saying the car's got no grip or balance or brakes, does he? Why does he need? What is the manager going to be able to say to him? Say to anybody?
Agree. Let me ask
Put
you
another way: if you're the director of engineering at Red Bull and Max's manager is telling you that the car hasn't got enough grip, what are you going to say to him?
When Max Verstappen is reporting no grip, no balance, and brake inconsistencies, and the manager has to step in, what does that say about the internal confidence at Red Bull right now? Are they listening closely enough, or are the cracks starting to show in that once bulletproof garage? And when the best driver on the grid feels unheard, how long until trust begins to erode? Let's not forget, Max is a 4-time world champion. If he's saying the car is fundamentally off, that should be triggering alarms, not debates, inside that engineering room.
I mean, Max doesn't even need to exercise anything in the contract. If Max Verstappen wants to go, Florence Stroll says, okay, I'm gonna sack my son. He's going back to Canada and he's going to go rallying or whatever. I want you in that car, number 1 driver, with Adrian Newey in 26. I think Max would probably do that, wouldn't he? He'd probably say yes. Regardless of the contract situation, I think you just do it on the basis that, they can sue me, whatever. I'm just going to go.
Yeah, 1,000%.
And I think that's what would happen. But as I say, I don't think he will do that because he needs to know what the Red Bull is going to be like in 26. Does he not?
Well, if I put on my accounting cap for a second, there's a couple of ways to value a business, Peter, if we use the analogy. Mm-hmm. So one is at present value. So asset value, what do they own and how much is it worth? And one is if you look at forecasted earnings in the future. Now, if Max levies the asset value, if he looks at what Red Bull can provide him as at April 2025, it's like not a lot. If you look at the forward focus, then potentially something in 2026. But I don't think Vache and Co are going to fix the car anytime soon. So I think when he had the car, when he had like the RB20 and the RB19, a dominant machine, then you give Max Verstappen a decision to make. Do I stay or do I go? But because the car's so bad now, it's almost like, well, I may as well roll the dice. It's almost like Max absorbs more risk in staying than he would do leaving, is how I think of it, Peter.
Let's be honest. When staying with Red Bull feels like the riskier move, doesn't that tell you everything you need to know? Max thrives on certainty, performance, and control. If that's missing now, why wait for 2026 to fix it? This isn't about contracts anymore. It's about leverage. Max knows Red Bull can't afford to lose him, and if the engineering ship keeps drifting, he'll walk.
Yeah, I don't really understand that. To me, Max is going to win more Grand Prix this year. It'll have to be exceptional circumstances like the weather or a great circuit or the opposition getting it wrong, but he will win more races. And then see what happens in 26. It's nothing to do with money, any of this. It's all about being in a competitive car and needing to be in the right car. And there's no guarantee the Aston Martin Honda is going to be a great car in 26. It might be, but don't see a lot of Adrian's magic on this car, do we, at the moment? I know he's saying, oh, it's nothing to do with me, you guys get on and run it. But as I said at the start of the year, if Fernando was going reasonably well now, you can be sure that a lot of people would be saying, oh, wow, Adrian Newey,
Yeah.
And so, I don't know. If I was Max, I'd stay quiet. I wouldn't stay quiet. I'd be giving them a hard time, as he is. But equally, I would be focusing on being at Red Bull, doing what they do well, and learning as much as I could about next year's power plant and the car. And it's a completely different car next year. Sure. I mean, you can't in any way say because this year's car's terrible, then next year's car's going to be, the 26 car's going to be terrible, any more than you can say that Sauber are going to be slow next year either. They might be ready quick.
True. It's a good point. I think what concerns me, if I go back to Max very quickly, just to put a full stop on this, Max historically has always been very vocal over the radio. Remember Hungary last year when he was giving the beans to his racing engineers, saying, listen, I'm on -5 brake bias and the car still won't fudging turn. All of a sudden, Max has this cool, calm demeanour to Peter. And maybe that just comes with maturity, 27 years old. And
I think it does a little bit, but I think it also comes from knowing there's not much they can do about it, doesn't it?
Agreed.
And there was that lovely thing when he said something like, I can't stop the car, I've got no grip, no balance. And they just said, understood.
So what are we going to do?
It must be a bit irritating after a while, isn't it?
Yeah.
I'm not telling you because I want you to understand it. I'm telling you because I want you to do something about it, guys.
If you're Max Verstappen and you've built your career on extracting performance from chaos, how do you not get frustrated when the only reply is understood? Where's the engineering response? Where's the urgency? That's not the Red Bull standard he helped define. You can hear it in his voice. Max isn't just reporting issues, he's testing his team's capability to react. And right now, they're failing that test.